got it. Yeah. Got it. Hey, what's up guys? Good morning. So we woke up this morning to a little bit of rain. It's coming down. It's lightened up a little bit, but everything's all soaking wet. And if you know anything about filming, you can't really do a whole lot of filming in the rain because it just kind of creates crap video. So
I mean, the reality is Kyle just doesn't want to ride in the rain.
I'm being kind of a puss about it. No, we're actually we are gonna go out and ride. We'll get some testing done. I just don't know how much video we're gonna be able to do on this whole thing. So yeah, stay tuned. We'll see how this goes. So if you guys don't know Kyle's company, it's two of them here. We got Snowbike Nation and Flathead Outdoors. He rents snow bikes, dirt bikes, and e-bikes. And if you're ever in the Montana, northwestern Montana, I guess, Kalispell area, definitely check him out. Here's his number and his pickup with all of his information on it. But Kyle, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about your company and what you do?
Yeah, so I started the Snowbike tours going into our 4th season. We're right outside of Glacier Park. So we operate 10 to 12 snow bikes, full-on tours. We do not rent snow bikes. For anybody who's been snow biking, you know, there's a lot that goes into it. So got a lot of avalanche training. It's very intense if you've never been snow biking for your first time. So we take people out on guided tours. We have a lodge, so we do full food, everything included. Come up for 1 day, come up for 3-4 days, and we have a ton of fun. We operate a lot of 300 two-strokes as well as 450 bikes, all of the different manufacturers. So pretty cool. I get to work with all the different snow bike companies out there. It's pretty fun. It's very fun, actually.
How many people can you accommodate at once?
Typically, we don't like to do more than 6 riders at one time just because it's already like herding cats. We can keep everybody together enough, but still be able to travel quickly. And when you're snow biking, it's a lot of going to like different zones and playing around and stuff. But it's the most fun thing ever. I mean, obviously I'm a little biased. Summertime, of course, we transitioned into doing dirt bike tours. I do rent out like the Kove 450 and our dual sport bikes. I've got a bunch of the Tenere 700s as well. So we will rent those out in the summertime, but I also do dirt bike tours, and then we do adventure bike tours. So I keep calling them dual sport.
So if I'm down in say like Nevada, but I want to come up here and ride it, but I don't own any snow gear, what do I need to do?
Yeah, everything's included. I joke with people and say you can just show up in your underwear. So Climb is one of our great sponsors. So when you show up, you're fully kitted up and outfitted with top of the line Climb gear. You're wearing about $4,000 worth of gear between monosuit, gloves, boots, avalanche backpack, beacon. There's a lot going on when you go snow biking. So literally just get up here, bring your socks and a base layer, and even then I've got those. You can fly right into Kalispell, so it's or Glacier International Airport. So you can come up here January, February, March, April, and we ride into May. And actually April and May, if you're not into cold weather, come in April and May, and we do spring snow biking. You know, sometimes it'll be 50, 60 degrees and sunny, and it's just epic. Like that's one of my favorite times is spring snow biking.
Well, let's talk about the Kove a little bit, since that's kind of what we're here for. Run us through real quick kind of the selling points of the Kove and like why you purchased it and why you think it's going to be a good like dual sport bike for you.
Yeah, I think for someone like me, when I have ridden the T7, which really is all my experience on an adventure bike, it's just big and heavy, and it's not really fun to go get super rowdy on. It is if you're a damn good rider, which, you know, I would call myself an intermediate rider. And so the whole time I'm riding it and I'm looking at all this gnarly stuff, I'm like, man, I'd really like to go ride that on my T7, but I'm like, if I drop it or whatever, it's just a lot of bike. So I wanted to find kind of that balance. And then as I ride the KTM 450, I'm like, yep, this is fun, but it's still not an adventure bike. I rode this Kove, and I mean, within a couple minutes, I was freaking jumping it off. I was pushing it as fast as I could ride. and it feels like I'm riding a dirt bike. You don't even feel the weight of the fuel. It's the wildest thing. So I think this is going to serve a much bigger market where you're bringing a dirt biker, throw them on an adventure bike. They're going to feel at home. They're going to feel comfortable. And you get a guy like, you jump on one of these, you already know how to ride an adventure bike so well. This thing is just going to be that much easier. And I think it's going to allow us to get more people out riding. It's not intimidating, like hopping on even a T7 or a bigger bike.
I don't have any experience on it yet. We're about to go out and ride it here in a little bit. But again, I just hopped on it yesterday when he came here yesterday evening. And again, rode it around this big open area, and it is very, very nimble. I mean, it feels like you're riding just a regular dirt bike. You don't feel the weight of the 8 gallons of gas at all. And the suspension is nice, and it just feels really good. So tell me about any of the specs that you know. We know that it's got really good suspension. What are some other features in your mind that you think are talking points that people need to know about?
Yeah, and this one is the low model. So I got the low model, which is 2 inches shorter than the traditional
rally or whatever.
Yeah, the regular one. And I did that specifically to just make it easier to ride for people. I find that everybody likes having a lower bike. Yeah. So
real quick, the low model still has a 36-inch seat height, whereas the standard model has a 38-inch seat height. I have a 30-inch inseam. So sitting on this bike, once you get a little bit of squat from the sag.
Oh yeah.
I can be comfortably on the balls of my feet. My heels don't touch the ground, but again, it's not heavy, so it's not hard to manage it as if like a T7 or something like that. And a T7, relatively, when you think about adventure bikes, it's not that heavy either. My GS, if I was on the balls of my feet, if it were to tip, 10, 15 degrees, you're kind of like, ooh, you panic a little bit.
Wait for me, I got little legs.
You don't notice the height really that much at all when you're sitting on it and on the balls of your feet.
Yeah, and having the fuel down low like they have made all the difference. I mean, like you said, Kyle, on the T7, I'm very conscientious about getting on it. I get on it, put the kickstand up. This, I just pop the kickstand up and get on it like a dirt bike. It feels just the same. So you've got, I believe they're 40, I don't know exactly, don't quote me. I think they're 48 millimeter forks. So you got 10 inches of travel. And I didn't realize a lot of adventure bikes don't have that much.
Some of them have anywhere between 8.5, 9.5.
Yeah, I didn't even know it, because dirt bikes, obviously, you've got a shit ton. So it definitely has more of that dirt bike like suspension.
So it's 10 inches of travel because it's the low version, right? If it was the high version
12.
or standard, it'd have 12. Gotcha.
Correct. Yep. You're running 18, 21 tires just like your normal dirt bike. So it's awesome. I can run whatever gnarly tires I want. This is the stock tire, which I thought the front stock tire is awesome. I mean, that's a great, what is it? A freaking CST or what the hell are they called?
Yeah, so it's a Chinese-made tire, right?
Yeah.
So, I've actually seen some pretty decent reviews on that as well. The tires that it comes on, they're like true 50-50 tires, they call them, and they're really not that bad.
Yeah, the only reason I took off the rear tire was, and I put on, this is the Tusk, what is it, the Recon, I think?
Yeah, Tusk Recon.
Yeah, the Tusk Recon. I just wanted a little bit gnarlier dual sport tire for my type of riding. The other day when I went and rode, we were on some real rocky, loose stuff, and it was sliding around a little, so that was the only change I made. Other than that,
so it's got a pretty high exhaust on it. That's nice. It really has that rally bike styling for sure. 8 gallons of fuel, right? So there's a tank in the front, and there's also one on the rear as well.
Yep. Yeah. So you got this whole back piece there is just fuel. I think I filled it up the other day. It's like 5 gallons. So
I know one problem people are kind of already running into, or being able to put some type of rack system or luggage on the rear. I don't know if this bike is going to be, if the subframe is going to be designed to be able to put like a pannier rack, but using like a horseshoe bag, like a Moscow Moto horseshoe bag, giant loop Tusk, any of those bags seem like they will work pretty well. You're just a little bit limited on space. I did notice sitting on the seat, at least the configuration that's here right now, this is kind of on your butt. So ideally I'd like to have it a little bit further back, but I mean, you can definitely configure it however you need to make it comfortable for you.
I just threw that on to put the drone in there, but I agree. I would want this a lot further back, especially when you're getting really rowdy. It's nice being able to slide back a little farther if you need it. I would say a couple things out of the gate. Riding this 450 versus like my KTM, it doesn't have that low end torque and grunt that I was used to. So it took me a little bit to kind of get the feel for it. It's more like, and I think Jimmy Lewis even talked about this, and Tyler as well from Ever Ride. It's more like riding a 350. It wants to rev. It wants to be up in the R's to get that power. So down low though, especially for a new rider, it's super manageable. It's not jerky and torquey. Like you throw a new rider on that 450, dude, they're going to whiskey throttle that thing if they're not careful. This one, I find the low end like characteristics and very, very manageable. But then as soon as you get up into that 5,000 RPM, dude, it freaking rips.
So ergonomics, how does it feel sitting on it as far as, you know, when your handlebar position, standing, it all feels pretty good?
Dude, it feels amazing. Like a dirt bike, literally.
Gotcha. You know, one thing that I immediately noticed yesterday that I was really shocked, I thought that this clutch was a hydraulic clutch. It is just so smooth. But it's not, it's a cable. So whatever they got, you know, mechanism they've got going on down there for clutch relief, that's butter. Like that's one of the best clutches I've ever felt for a cable clutch.
Dude, it's an impressive bike for $9,000, and like we'll show you guys the display. Even just the display turning on looks legit. You know, it's got everything you need.
It's got a lot of water on it right now. But again, we're dealing with some rain issues, but the display here, you know, it shows your RPMs, your gear, all that good stuff. It's got a ton of information over here as far as your fuel consumption, miles still empty, trip odometer like you traditionally would, a ton of other stuff. There's also you can go in here and you can turn off your traction control, not your traction control, your ABS. It is a few buttons to do that. So some people might
hit this one. So you hit this, and then you go in. It's couple, 3.
I think Tyler said it's like 5 button clicks.
Close
right?
all. Yep.
So then, yeah, you go to close all, and you can even leave it like that, or you can exit out of it by hitting back.
Yep.
But, you know, not too bad. One option would be, if you don't really want to deal with ABS at all, is just pull the fuse.
What?
You don't have to worry about it that way.
Okay.
But, yeah, there's just a lot of cool little features that you wouldn't expect to get on a $9,000 bike.
No. Riding this bike, if you were to compare it to like the KTM, it doesn't feel as tight. You know, like the transmission doesn't feel as tight and as snappy. But again, and at first I was like, oh, I kind of wish it felt a little better. But then after riding it, I was like, wow, it's fine. You just learn the nuances of the bike. And I think it's actually kind of nice with it being a little bit softer like that. It's not so hard hitting.
And the stock seat actually doesn't feel too bad.
No.
It doesn't feel too bad at all.
Pretty good, dude.
It's got a carbon fiber skid plate on it. What's one thing we're a little bit worried about? We know that hopefully, well, we hope at least, some companies will make some aftermarket skid
It's too thin. I mean, look at this.
It is carbon fiber, but it's very flimsy. So somebody like Outback Motortek or A to Z Composites that deals with carbon fiber can hopefully come out with something that's going to be legit for this bike, because it's got 10 inches of ground clearance now, because it had 12 to begin with, which is still a lot. Also, one thing that I really like about it, all these clips. So your windshield, your side panels, everything.
Here, we'll show.
Everything comes off with
so easy,
no
guys.
tools.
It's this freaking, I love this feature as well.
So it's just, they've put a lot of thought into being able to take the bike apart to do maintenance, and you know, whereas like you deal with like an Africa Twin or even the T7, it's such a pain in the butt to have to take out all the bolts and everything. And then, you know, your Kove here, just a few little thumb screws basically.
There we go. And then of course you got to disconnect the blinkers and stuff, and you can take this whole thing off.
But it all comes off really easy. I mean,
yeah, there's just a little plug behind it there.
Yeah, we don't have to do that now, but I mean, you get the gist, right? So what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Or 6, yeah.
6 little quarter turn screws, and then a couple little grommets, and you're done. And then I think Tyler even said too, the tank is actually really easy to get off as well if you need to do valve adjustments and all that good stuff. So anyway, we're gonna go gear up, and I think we're gonna go ride this thing and let you know how it goes. So we have the two bikes side by side with the T7 obviously, and then we have the Kove 450. If you look at seat height, we're on a slight incline right here, but I mean, they're really comparable as far as the size goes. You know, the Kove stance is just a little bit lower maybe, but again, on a hill, so it's not exactly science here, but relatively very similar bikes. The only issue is that the Kove weighs about 100 pounds less, which is awesome. All right, here we go. Oh yeah, nice and slick. fine. So the 450 right out of the gate, I mean, it's definitely a smaller frame bike, and it's a lot of good ways. I mean, you're going to lose a lot of the wind protection if you're wanting to do it for adventure riding, but you know, it's just kind of a thing you have to kind of give up when you have a $9,000 450, right? So here we go.
So at this point, the microphone is just soaking wet, and even with the wind protection that is on the microphone, it's basically unreadable. So I'm going to do my best here just to kind of narrate what's going on. First off, with my left foot, first thing I notice is that the shifter is a little bit hard to find. Your foot kind of hits the fairing and the skid plate, so you kind of poke around a little bit, but once you do kind of realize where it's at, it's a little bit easier, but right out of the gate, the shifter is a little bit hard to find. Also, the wind protection, there's none. This period, that's end of story. There's no wind protection on this bike. That fairing may as well not even be there because you do get some wind coming right into your face. Not a big deal off-road or anything like that, but on the highway or even at this pace here where I'm doing about 45 miles an hour, you do notice it. A positive, though, is this bike is extremely nimble. It feels very grounded. Even with this loose mud back and forth like this, it feels like it's just stuck to the ground. So with the suspension, the tires, the way that the frame is set up, very, very confidence-inspiring. And I'm sure you will hear this word or this phrase, confidence-inspiring, throughout this video because it is a really easy motorcycle to ride. Another thing that's obvious right here in this tunnel is that the headlights are actually really good. They're projector lamps, and they send a nice beam right out in front of you. These are the low beams, and it's very easy to see inside this tunnel. On the other hand, right here, you'll notice it is not a wheelie machine. I can barely get the wheel off. There we go a little bit. Barely get the wheel off the ground. Again, down low, as mentioned, there just isn't a ton of grunt. You could absolutely clutch the crap out of this thing, and I'm sure you'd be able to, ride a wheelie on it, no problem. But as far as like just power wheelies on, it's not the best down low. But again, I think that's designed like this for a reason. And when you really get on it around that 5,000 RPM mark, it just hits with power, and then the bike really moves. So here we are on some pavement. This is a 2-lane, it's actually a 4-service road, but it's a nice twisty river road that goes right along the St. Joe River here in North Idaho. One of my favorite paved roads. It's a great road, but here I am right around 64, 65 miles an hour. I get all the way up to about 70, and again, the bike handles great. Does it handle as good as the T7 does on the pavement? Maybe not, but still really good, especially for a 450 class dirt bike. It does great. Right here through that turn right there, it was excellent. It doesn't seem to push or walk too much. The frame is set up great, and the geometry is great for what it is and for what this bike is designed for. I also slow it down from about 70 to about 20 miles an hour with the brakes. The ABS works great. I don't romp on it too hard, but the brakes work really well, and the bike slows as it should with no real problems. They don't feel mushy or anything like that.
Some things I notice, I mean, it feels like a dirt bike with a fairing as far as the highway goes, but it's manageable. You get a lot of clean air coming through. You get a lot of clean air coming over the windshield, so there's no buffeting, it's just wind. So depending on your helmet, I have a dirt bike helmet right now, so depending on your helmet, that's going to differ between the noise and everything, but it actually handles really well. Around the curves, on the straightaways at 70 miles an hour, it maintains it. You're not wrapped out. You're about 7,000 RPMs. The red line's around 9,000. So at 70, it'll maintain highway speed no problem. Is what I'm trying to say. So
you hear me mention the clean air. Like I said, it's got really clean air once you get up to speed. No real buffeting. Now on this bike, would you want to do a 500 mile day on it, on say, multi-state? Probably not, but would you want to use it to be able to get from the dirt to the pavement and from the pavement to the dirt and so on, absolutely that's what this bike is designed for. You can take it out of your garage and then head right to, you know, the trails that you want to ride all day, and then ride back home, not have to worry about trailering or anything like that. So far I'm impressed with this motorcycle. Going from the pavement onto this 2-track right here, immediately I noticed that the suspension is a little bit stiff, and that was an easy fix for us. Later on, we took our tools and adjusted what we needed to adjust to make it right, but lowered the compression a little bit, loosened up the preload, and the bike felt really, really good. This 2-track here really made the bike shine for what it was actually made for. I mean, we were able to get up 40, 50 miles an hour in some cases, and for a bike that I literally have only been riding for a half hour to an hour at this point, very, again, confidence inspiring. The bike felt like it was just stuck to the trail here, and even with these potholes, it soaked it up and had a ton of fun. We were just cruising on this, and again, smiling ear to ear, and I really can't say anything negative about the bike at this point. You just kind of have to get used to the power band on it, the low end lack of power, and the higher RPM hit that it has, and then really the bike just comes alive, has enough power that anytime that you need it, and really, again, just feels like a fun, confidence inspiring bike that I feel like anybody, new rider, old rider, would get on this bike and really enjoy it. So I will admit that this is what this bike is made for. The 2-track, the more open straightaways, this bike feels really good for what it is. The T7 is great for this as well, but you have to be careful because it likes to push a little bit because of the weight. Not a lot, but they're two different animals. This definitely feels like this is what this bike is made for. I'm gonna hop on the T7 just to get a little bit better comparison. So that's right out of the gate. I feel like the power, way more power on the T7 as far as down low goes, and the lower RPM ranges. But then around the corners, you can kind of feel the extra weight trying to, not keep you on the line, whereas the Kove really holds that line around the corners. It is hard to ride this bike slow. You see just now it's doing around 55 miles an hour or so. And, obviously the CC difference, 700 cc's versus 450 cc's, but the T7 does feel a little more refined, a little smoother of a motorcycle. But again, in the corners and some of this, bumpier, rougher terrain, it does plow through that a little bit better than what the 450 does. But at the same time, the 450 just feels very nimble, and it's easier to control in those corners. It doesn't push like you do feel a little bit of a push into the corners of the T7, just because you are trying to change that weight direction. But all in all, very close, very similar motorcycles as far as performance goes. But the T7 takes it all day on the wind protection, highway performance, and also power delivery. All right, Kyle, so we just got back from riding both the T7 and the 450. What's your first impression in between the two? Go ahead and tell me what you think, and then I'll go ahead and add my final thoughts.
I mean, I think it's very clear that the T7, as an adventure bike, is the winner. Just in terms of stability, everything you can do on that, it feels very nice on the road. Not that this one doesn't, but I could see myself going on a long trip on that one. And this one would be more I wanted to go do, just like the other day, 150 to 200 mile long. I think we did a total of probably 40 to 50 miles of road, highway, and then dirt road was the rest. And then we mix in probably a solid 10 miles of some pretty good gnarly double track.
Yeah.
And it was awesome on this. And my buddy was on the T7, and he's a damn good rider, and he's been riding it a lot. And he said some of that we were doing, I was on the upper end of my ability on that T7. And he hops on this and was like, that was easy on the Kove.
So to answer the question for a lot of guys, I'm sure you have questions about how it handles on the road. How did that feel to you? How did the Kove feel to you on the pavement?
Yeah, I mean, compared to my dirt bike that feels a little squirrely on the highway when you're going, 60 to 70, 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
This felt super planted. I mean, it never felt bad. Like, I didn't feel like I was riding a dirt bike. I felt like I was riding a bike that was meant for going fast and did great on the road. I think for a guy that's a dirt biker that's wanting to, instead of load up their truck and trailer and get all their gear together, jumping on something like this, leaving from your house, doing some road riding to get to some 2-track or in some gnarlier type dirt roads. Dude, I don't know right now a better bike that you could do than this. And I haven't ridden a lot of bikes,
Right.
so I don't have that experience.
Well, and I can agree. So one thing I noticed on the pavement, it actually handles the twisties, we'll call it that. We didn't do a whole lot of that, but it handles it really well. It doesn't feel like you're forcing the bike to lean over or anything like that. And as soon as you get up to highway speed, just like on the gravel, it feels so planted. It doesn't have any buzzing or vibration in the foot pegs like you would normally feel in another dirt bike. It doesn't have any buzzing in the handlebars. And the only thing I noticed is that the wind protection is like non-existent. There's none. But it also...
Well, and I'm used to, again, none.
Right.
And so for me, I was like, I even would get down kind of and crouch a little, and it was like...
a little better, right? Mm-hmm. But I will say that even though that you get all of the wind, it's very clean. There's no buffeting going on. So I'm riding with a dirt bike helmet today, and if I was to wear a dual sport or ADV helmet, I think it would be totally manageable for hours on end to be able to ride that bike in a variety of terrains. So I see it as a motorcycle, like you said, that you can leave your garage, go ride some trails, some 2-tracks, some fast gravel roads, and then come back and be totally fine. Would I do a 7 or 10 day trip on it? Probably not. But again, most people don't have that luxury anyway. Mm-hmm. If you're married, you have kids, you're probably not going to take 2 weeks vacation and say like, well, sorry family, I'm going to go hang out with the boys. So I think it's like a weekend warrior bike. And I mean that in a good way. Like you can take off on a Friday after work, go camp, go ride, and then come back Sunday evening, and the bike will do everything you want it to do in that short amount of time. And the way I see it too is if you have been a dirt biker your whole life and you want to get into the dual sport ride, but you don't want to give up that dirt bike feel, this is the bike for that. A lot of people
couldn't agree more, dude.
A lot of people get, I guess, worked up when they go from a dirt bike to an adventure bike, because adventure bike is not a dirt bike.
And I will say, when I hopped on, and that was one of the reasons I went with the T7, talking to you, reading stuff online, watching videos, they're like, it's the most dirt bike-like adventure bike out on the market. And I got on it and instantly felt comfortable. However, you feel that weight. You know?
And that's why we compared these two, because I think when it comes down to it, price point is pretty similar, especially when they first came out. This was a $9,000 or $10,000 bike, $999, right?
Yeah.
Now it's hard to find one for anywhere under 12.
Yeah.
But that being said, they're a very close price point, similar seat height, similar weight. This actually is probably get more range. Well, it will get more range.
It's 8 gallons.
Yeah, more range than what this will. But this would be, as a dirt biker, this would be the two to choose from, I think.
I agree, dude.
My final thoughts on it, if I already have a dirt bike and I want to get into the adventure bike realm, I personally am going to go with the T7, because for me, I like doing the longer trips. I like to do a little bit more like longer days in the saddle, I guess we'll call it, rather that be on both pavement or gravel. I have the ability to do that with what my work schedule is and all that. Whereas if, again, the weekend warrior, you don't want to spend a bunch of money, this is still a really good
the weekend warrior, or the guy that is, got squirrel brain like myself and ADD. When I go ride, even the dirt roads, I'm just like, I want to go up that, I want to go up that, I want to go up that, and I want to go up all the stuff I ride by. Whereas on the T7, I'd be like, I don't know.
Very true, very true. So really, again, it's subjective. That's my opinion. This is Kyle's opinion. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this answered some questions that you had about the Kove 450 and a comparison of the two similar bikes. Do you have anything to add, Kyle?
I'm excited to go ride the next one.
Yeah. So if you like this video and you want to see this Kove compared against a KTM 450 XCFW.
Yeah. 2023.
Watch this video right here, and we'll see you in the next one.